So we're doing a little bit work with the RSX today, but we are gonna take a look at the clutch fluid. The last time I took apart or popped the engine bay, I was looking at some of the fluids and they were a little bit darker than I normally want them to be. When we originally did a tune-up for the RSX about a year and a half ago, we changed out the calipers, we bled the brakes, but we also bled the clutch line because it was like near dark. And today we're gonna take a look at it. All right, so right over here you see the clutch reservoir. We just kind of pulled off the cap and you can see that it's starting to get kind of murky. And so I think it's still okay, but I'm just gonna bleed it out, kind of get that real clear, just so it just runs a clean system. And in order to do that, we're gonna have to locate the clutch slave cylinder, which is right in front of the engine area, kind of near the tip of the transmission. And to do that, we're gonna take out the battery so we have a little more room to play. But we're gonna connect a water bottle or just a bottle with a hose to it, open up the bleeder screw, and just kind of pump out that clutch pedal so we can actually bring down the fluid. And then we'll fill the brake fluid inside of this clutch reservoir so that it can actually take in the new stuff and just clean out the old. So we're gonna get started. Okay, so we have the battery out now, and what we need to do is locate the clutch slave cylinder. And so the slave cylinder, you can see this is your transmission, this is your shifter cables, and then this is the location of the fork. Connected to it is these two bolts here. This is your clutch slave cylinder. And as you can see, it's connected to the front of the transmission, front side of the engine, kind of in between. It manipulates this. This is that kind of that rubber boot. And then you can see that we have the clutch line and it falls and it connects to there. On the corner, you guys can't see it here, but there is a nipple that you're gonna bleed from. And you're gonna need an 8mm kind of wrench for that. So I'm gonna go ahead and go around to the front of the car, to the bottom of the engine bay, and I'm gonna show you guys what that side looks like. So where this slave cylinder is, I'm gonna go from the bottom side where that front engine mount is, and I'm gonna show you guys where the nipple is. So the nipple, the bleeder screw, I took off kind of the cap, and so earlier, but sometimes you might have it, sometimes you don't. It's good to have it so that it doesn't get kind of dirty, but you're gonna bleed it out, so it doesn't really matter as much. So we're coming underneath the car now, and as you can see, I'm like right underneath the middle part. And what we're gonna do is locate kind of where that slave cylinder is. If you go further down, as you can see there, you can see the oil pan. You see that transmission there and the front mount. So I've rotated the phone. As you can see there, there's the engine pan, the K-Tune one that I changed out before. We're gonna zoom and get real close. So you see where that yellowish bolt is? To the right of it is the bleeder screw. And it's connected by an 8mm, and what we're gonna do is stick a hose in front of the bleeder screw, also the 8mm wrench, and then we're gonna loosen the bleeder screw, and then we can start the process. So in terms of tools, all you need is this one here and a bleeding kit. So let's get this 8mm connected. I'm just gonna put it on this one, just leave it on there. So back underneath the car, as you can see, we're wrapped around. We have the 8mm wrench wrapped around the bleeder screw. So there it is. And what we're gonna do is just gonna loosen it, but first we're gonna grab a hose and stick it on top. So this is the simple kit I have. It's just a magnetic small brake reservoir. We're gonna fill it up a little bit with some brake fluid just to close out that that pressure. And then we're gonna stick this hose in that nipple or the bleeder screw. So as you can see here, I have just enough fluid just so that this part of the hose is submerged in the fluid. I'm going to screw it back together and then insert that nipple or that little plug into the bleeder screw nipple. And then this is just Acura or Honda Dock 3 brake fluid. You can use some more high performance one as well, but this is just what I have to bleed out the fluid. All right, so we're back underneath the car, and let me show you the setup that you saw earlier. So I have this little magnet just sticking here. It's holding up the brake reservoir. Obviously you can take it out, but I'm gonna keep it in. I'm gonna put it right underneath the line that leads into the clutch slave cylinder bleeder screw. You can see that that little black piece inserts right into the nipple and the bleeder screw. And what I'm going to do is just loosen the screw with an 8mm, not that much, just a little bit. That way it opens up the fluid, and then as I pump the clutch pedal, fluid is going to gush out, fill up, zoom out. Fluid's gonna fill up this reservoir, and then we're gonna have to close out the bleeder screw when it fills it up all the way, empty this somewhere else, still leave a little bit of fluid to keep the air sealed inside, and then keep doing this until, one, there's no air bubbles, but two, just till it's clear, just making sure we have clean fluid. So it's loose. I don't know if you were watching from below, but I've been filling up the clutch reservoir or the clutch fluid, and you can tell that it's been pushing out because it's completely black. It's filling up the reservoir here with pretty much black fluid. So as you can see, the fluid is black. It's filling up in the reservoir. That clear fluid I put earlier, just to make sure there's no air in the line, has been filled up and pushed up pretty much completely. And this is now black. This is the old fluid. At this point, as you can see, we're gonna go back to where we put the small little ratchet or wrench. We're gonna close up the bleeder screw. So it's as simple as going to the right. And what I'm gonna do now is take this, unscrew it, because it's closed off now. There's no air coming in the line. Empty this out, make sure the bottle's empty, and we're just gonna repeat it a few times so that we get all that fluid out. So I pretty much have a pan below it because I'm going to disconnect this line and just kind of dump this old fluid out. I have a water bottle. I'm actually going to dump it in the water bottle. You could actually just dump it in the pan, but for what I want to do, I just want to make sure it's okay. And you could tell it's pretty gross. The whole entire clutch line is pretty much clogged. I'm going to let it kind of drip into the pan real quick, and I'm going to fill it into this bottle. Some people just kind of use the water bottle method. I have this little magnet system just to see it, but it doesn't have enough space. So that's kind of what I wish it did. It had a little bit more space. I got to make sure I leave a little bit of fluid in there. It doesn't have to be fresh fluid. It just needs to be enough to make sure there's no kind of air coming in there. And after that, We're gonna just put it back. It's completely black at this point, which is pretty gross. And I'm just gonna stick it back on the magnet area. And we're gonna repeat at this point. We're gonna make sure that we fill up fluid till it covers the whole bottle and go from there. So I'm gonna show you guys a different perspective at this point. This is the reservoir for the clutch. I filled it up to the top. You can see I've been bleeding it, so it looks a lot more clear. And over where what I showed you guys earlier, we had the hose hooked up. It's loose now. And the way I've been bleeding it, because I'm doing it myself, if you have more people, the easier it is. So if you have someone filling up fluid into this reservoir, it's gonna make life easier as you're pushing the pedal, because I'm only actually pumping it like 10 times, 10 to 15 times. And then I'm running back to check if it's low, because you never want it to go all the way through, because if you run out of fluid, you introduce air in your system. So I'm pretty much pumping it 10 to 15 times till it's about halfway, and then I'm filling it back up and doing it again. So let me show you where I go to just pump the clutch pedal. Obviously you guys know where it is, but let me show you the technique. So the moment you loosen the bleeder screw with your clutch pedal, if you press down all the way, it comes off very softly. So sometimes you could sit there and press it with your foot. Sometimes you can't, and you have to actually manually kind of push it through. And as you clean it out and put more pressure, you can feel it'll get a little bit firmer over time. But that's pretty much it. So let me pump 10 more times. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A little more than that. And let's loop around. So I'm gonna fill up the water, the reservoir, with some more brake fluid. All right, and then we're just gonna keep pumping. It's gone down just a little bit, but while I press the pedal, I'm gonna top it off a little bit more, and we're gonna bring it down more. You can see air is slowly moving out, but there's still a lot of air in the line, so I'm just gonna keep going and just make sure I push all this out. As you can see, we're making a little bit more progress. However, while the line is clear, you see those little bubbles in the line. There's still air in it, so I gotta keep going and just make sure it's all gone. So we're pretty much done with the clutch fluid change. We bled it out, filled with the reservoir, capped off or tightened the bleeding screw on the slave cylinder. But I just wanted to show you guys all the, I spilt a little bit, but like I just spilt it just now. But the fluid is pretty much brown, and that's what we kind of took out.